2-minute review. What's a clause? Some of you may have forgotten, so let's quickly go over it. A clause is a string of words that includes a subject and a predicate. It must include someone or something which is performing an action. So remember, the subject is the someone or something. The predicate is the performance of an action. Basically, it's the verb. Remember, a simple subject is the person performing an action or the thing performing an action. The predicate or simple predicate is merely the verb. So if we take a look at this sentence, the usual, Tim eats a tasty lunch, we have Tim, and of course Tim is the subject, the someone in this case performing an action, and then eats a tasty lunch, and that would be the complete predicate. Eats being the simple predicate, which is the verb, and then eats a tasty lunch as the complete predicate. Let's just recircle this. Now, a complete sentence is a string of words that includes at least one independent clause that can stand on its own as a complete thought. If it contains a subject and a predicate, but it cannot stand on its own, meaning it doesn't make sense, it is a dependent clause. So here's an example. Miriam fell down the stairs. I often use examples with people falling. I suppose it's because I have a tendency to do so myself. In this case, we know that Miriam is the subject. Fell is, of course, the verb, so that would be the simple predicate. Fell down the stairs is the complete predicate. Let's circle Miriam again. There we go, fell down the stairs. In this case, Miriam is the subject. Fell down the stairs is the complete predicate. So we do have a subject and a predicate. Therefore, we have a clause. We have a clause. Is this sentence a complete thought? Is this string of words a complete thought? Miriam fell down the stairs. Yes. Clearly, it makes perfect sense as a standalone. Therefore, it is an independent clause. It can stand alone. Well, if it is an independent clause, and it is a single independent clause, and it can stand on its own, we've said that it is a complete thought and it can stand on its own, then it is in fact a simple sentence. So it's basically passed all of the tests for a simple sentence. It is a clause, meaning that it contains a subject and a predicate. It is an independent clause because it can stand alone. It makes sense as it is a complete thought. And it's only one independent clause, so it's a simple sentence. It's that easy. Let's take a look at an example that might not be a simple sentence. When Miriam fell down the stairs. So in this case, yes, we do have a subject, Miriam. And poor Miriam, once again, she fell down the stairs. So as you can see, we have Miriam as the subject, we have fell as the simple predicate, the verb, and then fell down the stairs as the complete predicate. So we do have a subject and a predicate. The problem is, so we have a subject, we have a complete predicate, but because of the word when, it is not a complete thought. We're left wondering, well, when Miriam fell down the stairs, what happened? happened. When Miriam fell down the stairs, she broke her leg. Now that would be a complete thought, but in this case, it is not a complete thought. Can it stand on its own? No, mostly because of that annoying word when. So it's not an independent clause. It can't stand alone, but it is a clause because it has a subject and a predicate. So it must be a dependent clause. So in this case, it's one dependent clause, and a dependent clause just sitting on its own is a fragment. Can't stand alone. Does not make sense. So just remember, a simple sentence is made up of only a single independent clause. That, of course, includes a subject and a predicate that can stand on its own and that makes sense. Let's just go over this one more time. Tim eats tuna every day. So here we have Tim as the subject, the simple subject, in fact, and eats tuna every day is the predicate. We keep losing the circle. So that is the complete predicate. Eats is, of course, the verb, so that's a simple predicate, the verb. It is one independent clause. Yes, it is. It can stand alone. Yes. It is a complete thought. Yes. Therefore, it is a simple sentence. Let's take a look at what Sue eats. Sue is the subject. We have eats yogurt every day as the complete predicate. Of course, eats is again the simple predicate, the verb. So we do have a subject and a predicate, so we have a clause. Can it stand alone on its own? Yes, Sue eats yogurt every day. It can stand alone, and it is a complete thought. It makes sense. So this is also a simple sentence. If we were to add this simple sentence, Tim eats tuna every day, to the second simple sentence, Sue eats yogurt every day, with a conjunction, let's just say, oh, if I could write with this, that would be great. Oh, very sad, I cannot. Let me grab a paintbrush. So let's just say Tim eats tuna every day, and then we were to add the conjunction, and Tim eats tuna every day, and Sue eats yogurt every day, and we ended that with a period. We would then have a compound sentence, because a compound sentence is made up of two simple sentences. But we'll see more of this in a moment.
She is just fantastic.
Well, here's a fly in the ointment, which is really an old-fashioned idiom for throwing in a complication. What if we have a sentence like this? Sue and Tim eat yogurt every day. So we had started with Tim eats tuna every day and Sue eats yogurt every day. And we already discovered that those were, in fact, simple sentences. But in this case, we have two subjects. We have Sue, and of course we have Tim, joined by a conjunction, and one of the most common conjunctions. So we have Sue and Tim, and then we have eat yogurt every day, which is of course the predicate, and eat is the verb, so that's the simple predicate. What are we going to do with Sue and Tim? Well, we know from the past that this is referred to as a compound subject. A compound subject. Now, just because there's a compound subject does not mean that we have more than a single independent clause. We know that we have a compound subject. Yes, we have a subject, even though it's compound. We also have a predicate, a complete predicate, eat yogurt every day. So we have a subject and a predicate. The next question is, can this stand alone? Sue and Tim eat yogurt every day. Yes, it can stand alone. Is this, in fact, a complete thought? Yes, it makes perfect sense. So, is this sentence comprised of a single independent clause? Yes, it is a single independent clause. The fact that it has a compound subject is irrelevant. It still has a subject and a predicate and can stand alone and make sense. So it is, in fact, a simple sentence. I know that seems odd. Let's go one further. Here we have another example. The children, so here we have our subject, run and jump rope during lunch. Here we have a verb. Here we have a verb. Notice the conjunction and again. So we have two verbs. Well, we know from the past that when we have two verbs, it's actually a compound, you guessed it, predicate. You just have two verbs here. So it's still a predicate. We have a subject. We have a compound predicate. Can it stand alone? So it's basically, we know that it's a clause because it has a subject and a predicate, a compound predicate. Can it stand alone? The children run and jump rope during lunch. Yes, it can stand alone, so it's an independent clause. Does it make sense? Is it a complete thought? The children run and jump rope during lunch. Yes, it makes perfect sense. Therefore, it is a single, independent clause. And as we know, if we have a single independent clause, even if it has a compound predicate or a compound subject, this means that it is a simple sentence. A simple sentence. So don't let the fact that and appears here as a conjunction. A simple sentence may in fact include and to establish a compound predicate or a compound subject. All right, have a great day.
Good day. Crazy monkey. How was your day going?
My day was boring.
My day was great.
Tell me why your day was great. Maybe it will cheer me up.
I woke up. I ate pancakes. I took a walk. I went to the park. I played in the sand. I met a girl there. Her name was Sue. We became friends. I walked back home. I will see her tomorrow.
That sounds great, but your details are choppy.
I need some rest. I'm tired, sick and tired of love.
So we're discussing compound, simple, and complex sentences. We've been discussing clauses, independent clauses. A simple sentence contains just one main clause or independent clause, a complete thought. I am studying. This is a simple sentence. One main clause, one complete thought. My friends and I are studying. Even though you have a compound subject here, there is only one complete main clause in this sentence. You can only get one out of there. So it's a simple sentence still.
So remember that a clause essentially means that it's a group of words that contains a subject and a verb sequence. It might have more than one subject, it might have more than one verb, but it's just one subject and verb sequence. The word independent on this then means that it's a clause, so subjects and verbs, but it could stand alone as a complete sentence. So a simple sentence is essentially one clause that can stand on its own as a complete sentence. Let's look at an example of this. Alex bought the puppy and trained it to attack his enemies. So bought and trained are both the verbs there. So notice we do have two verbs in this clause, but there's really only one subject-verb sequence. It's Alex that's buying and it's Alex that's training. So this would be considered a simple sentence. One subject and verb sequence, one clause, complete thought, that's what makes it a sentence. There's nothing that kind of trails off on it that makes it less than a complete sentence.
It's a simple sentence still. However, in a compound sentence, you can get two or more main clauses out of that sentence. This is a compound sentence with two or more independent clauses or two or more complete thoughts. Makes it a compound sentence. I am studying, so I cannot check my Facebook. I am studying, so I cannot check my Facebook page. I am studying, complete thought. I cannot check my Facebook page. That is also a complete thought, can stand alone. Thus, you have a compound sentence.
Keep in mind that FANBOYS refers to for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. FANBOYS! Oh, that's nice.
A compound sentence, then, is a mixture of at least two independent clauses. A compound sentence can have these two independent clauses connected in a variety of ways, either by a conjunction or a semicolon or some sort of combination of the two. Remember that a compound, though, means that it's two independent clauses, and again, independent clauses are clauses that could stand alone as a complete sentence. So we have two pieces that could each be a complete sentence. So this first example here, Alex bought the puppy and trained it to attack his enemies. That's the independent clause we had before for the simple sentence. So we know that's one independent clause. This second independent clause, but the enemies returned over here, this part over here, it could stand on its own as well. So returned is a verb, enemies is a subject. This is a second independent clause. We've combined them right now using a coordinating conjunction, but there's 7 coordinating conjunctions, for and nor, but or yet so. They're really short little words. And the thing that's kind of special about these coordinating conjunctions is that you can combine two independent clauses with just a comma and the coordinating conjunction. It's the only time you can combine two independent clauses or two sentences with just a comma. Now down below then, you'll see that I've shown a couple of different ways that we could have combined. So instead of using a comma and a coordinating conjunction, we could have just used a semicolon. So Alex bought the puppy and trained it to attack his enemies, semicolon to end that first sentence, and then the enemies returned as a second sentence. Or I could have used a adverbial conjunction like a word like however. And here I'm using a semicolon, the word however, a comma, and then I go on with the second independent clause. Again, these are just several ways that we could combine two independent clauses.
We're going to teach you about commas with compound sentences.
A compound sentence contains two or more independent clauses and no subordinate clauses.
Use a comma before a coordinating conjunction when it joins independent clauses in a compound sentence. To use a comma in a compound sentence, you add
independent clause plus comma plus coordinating conjunction or FANBOYS plus independent clause. Independent clause plus comma plus coordinating conjunction or FANBOYS plus independent clause.
Grace was jumping on the trampoline, but she fell down. Grace was jumping on the trampoline and she fell down are both independent clauses. They are combined by the comma and the coordinating conjunction but.
Maddie was standing by the edge of the pool, so Mariah pushed her.
The two independent clauses are Maddie was standing at the edge of the pool and Mariah pushed her. They are combined by a comma and the coordinating conjunction so.
I wanna hear some compound sentences. Don't wanna hear any boring short ones. I can use the word and or but and then, and then I put a comma right in front of it. Welcome to a new kind of grammar. Use a compound sentence when your sentences relate. Use a comma because there's no need to separate. Use a compound sentence when your sentences relate. And don't you forget your subject and predicate. I wanna hear some complete sentences. Don't wanna hear any incomplete ones. Every sentence must have a subject, and everyone has got to have a predicate. Welcome to a new kind of grammar. Use a compound sentence when your sentences relate. Use a comma because there's no need to separate. Use a compound sentence when your sentences relate. And don't you forget your subject and predicate. Mary had a little writing have a better rhythm and flow. And, but, or, so, yet, for, those are probably the most common ones. Use them wisely, and don't forget, put that comma right in front of it. Your teacher will be proud, and so will I. Later, Gator. When two sentences relate, use a conjunction. When two sentences relate, use a conjunction. When two sentences relate, use a conjunction. When two sentences relate, use a conjunction.